Welcome everybody again, and today we're going to talk about the planets. And welcome Lauren for all the help and support. It's great to have everything sorted for me. And so one of the things that comes up quite a lot is why there are so many gods in the Indian, or they call them gods. And different people have different ideas about, well, is it pagan or is it, whichever one you're following, But in actual fact, all of them, in my understanding, represent qualities that we might aspire to have. And so they're just representations of that. So no matter what tradition we're working in, there's a series of 7 qualities or ideals that we aspire to in our lives that are represented by the planets that in ancient time gave their names to the days of the week because of the qualities that they expressed. And we each have these qualities as a possibility within us, but our charts actually show us the quality or the strength of that possibility. And so if we want to improve it, or we want to understand why we are a bit held back, or where we feel a bit held back, or where we need a bit of support. Now, planets have been associated with herbs, they've been associated with foods, with colours, with the chakras. That people talk about these as independent subjects now from the planets. But in actual fact, they're part of everything. And whether you take a bit of cinnamon to improve your sun, or maybe Star of Bethlehem for your Saturn, say, or that's a back flower remedy, or you could take maybe an aconite for your Rahu, the shock factor, to alleviate a panic type thing. So the planet has something that represents right down the line of anything you want to look at. And if you're learning astrology, the most important thing is to learn the planets, because they're your alphabet. You can add houses and you can add signs, and that gives you words to play with. But the alphabet is the planets. And so today that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the ideals they represent. And the first one we'll talk about is the sun, and the symbol and what the symbol looks like, because the symbol for the sun is a speck and a circle around it. Now, the circle around it would represent the way everything in our world circles around. And the speck, like when we're drawing a figure or anything, it starts with a dot. It can become a line, it can become a circle, it can become a half circle, we can make a cross. And you'll actually find with the symbols in astrology that that's what you're dealing with. The sun is a dot, a central point, and then you have a circle of infinity that goes around it, that shows the circle of life that we're playing in, the dance we're doing in every lifetime. And the moon is semicircles. They're 2 half circles to show that there's a reflection of 2 possibilities, the right eye and the left eye, and the third eye is the middle way, that we need to pull those 2 together and find that middle way of seeing or being able to see. And so rather than being at either one extreme or another, which is often the case. So, and in the days of the week, because the sun rules Sunday, the moon rules Monday, and Tuesday is ruled by Mars. Now in Irish we say Jamorch, and so Jamorch, day, sounds very much like J. Now we say that J means God, but is it the God of the day? J March, and March is Mars in the Gaelic for Tuesday, J March. And so Jacadine, well, again, as I said, Mars rules. The symbol is a circle, means that it's a store, a body of matter that's contained within the circle, and there's an arrow pointing out from it that has a semi-cross arrow at the point of it that shows the courage we have and the strength we have and our ability to take the action. And so with Wednesday is ruled by Mercury, and the symbol there is a half circle on top. It's a full circle underneath it, and then it has a cross below that. And so the cross symbolizes, and you'll see it comes up quite often in all the other symbols. So you can see it's the bottom of Mercury, it's the half way down of Jupiter, it's the bottom of Venus, and it's the cross is on top for Saturn. And so the cross, we'll just start with Saturn because you get the idea of the cross and what it symbolizes. You see, in the cross it has 4 lines. So the 4 directions, north, south, east, west, the tides turn twice in the day, high tide, low tide. The cross gives us our timing. It gives us the rhythm of time, and you could say maybe the challenges we have to go through. It gives us the 4 possibilities of areas that we can work. In this particular cross here, for the different symbols that use the cross, they're below. So when we look at the circle for Mercury, and we look at this half circle on top, we can see Mercury represents the ideas and the thoughts that are in a constant flow. So it's like a half cup, or taking the flow of ideas coming down through the system, whether it's coming off the moon or coming off the sun, or it's coming down through the flow. And so the top half of Mercury is actually gathering the resources. It's like going in and getting the full menu, where the next piece is how are you going to contain that, and then what's going to happen to you in the doing of that. And so the top of the circle would represent the 10th aspect of how is it going to be visible, or how is it going to manifest. If we look at Jupiter, Jupiter rises above to a higher dimension than the cross. As well, the half circle brings you to a higher level of awareness, and that's the role of the Jupiter. And it's linked to the 4th house. It's where it gets exalted, is in the 4th, in the sign of Cancer, the natural 4th house. And the Cancer is the sign of caring. So you know that the Jupiter actually gets exalted in the sign of Cancer, where Mercury gets exalted in Virgo, in the sign of work and the work that we do. Now, we work because at the thing we learn about. So the student is Mercury. So whatever you learn about, you're easy to work at because you've learned about it. So Jupiter is our highest, Jupiter is our highest aspiration for ourselves. It's our way forward. It's our best foot forward to take. It gives us the knowledge we need to go forward and do what we're most idealistic and hope to achieve in our lives about, and will guide us to that. And we'll meet people in our lives who will guide us to that. So Jupiter's like the guide. It's like a 2 and a 4 in the symbol. The Venus is what we draw pleasure from, and the cross again is matter, the life. What give me something pleasant, refined, beautiful. That's really what the nature of the Venus, and it shows that refinement and everything in the fabrics and how it looks, and you can see it in most anything if you look for it. There's a certain beauty and refinement and everything depending on how you want to see it. So the cross again is what holds us to the world. It's something that attaches us to the world that we see as beautiful and might say, oh, I want more of that. I'd like another car or another house or another blanket or, a curtain or, food or, is associated with the Venus. And Saturn, where he connects, is on the 7th house. And the 7th house is where we have our deepest attachments. And that's our significant other. That's the role that we play in the life for pulling in people that we want to have as part of our lives. So we have our deepest attachments in the sign of Libra, the natural 7th house. And so all this is a way of learning that when you're looking at each of the planets, that they're a form. The ideal for Saturn is that we would look to have fair play, discipline, justice. The scales, its highest expression of itself is its exaltation, and so the highest expression of the Venus is unconditional love in Pisces, and to be able to do the greatest good with beauty and to see the beauty in everything. And so the highest role of Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, where it can take care of the most and give most, that makes the world a safe place. Because when the world is safe, when you feel safe in the world and you belong in the world, you can feel like you're happiest in that place and more easily able to guide or take guidance, or because you feel safe. Mercury gets exalted in its own sign, in the sign of Virgo. It's also its sign of exaltation, and it has most to learn there, because our knowledge, we need the knowledge, we need the information, so we have most to gain from learning through whatever comes up, and we can easily digest what's coming through in the 6th house as well. It's also to do and can be to do. Any of these can represent parts of the body or ailments as well. So each rules a part of the body. And so Mars, the highest expression of Mars is achievement. And it wants to prove its strength and prove its abilities and by going through difficulties and taking care of the vulnerable. That's the biggest challenge for Mars, is to look after and take care and protect the vulnerable. And so its exaltation sign is Capricorn, climbing the mountain to get to where it wants to go, proving its strength, proving its courage. And the plant associated with the Mars is easy to remember, borage for courage. You'll actually see this with a lot of the remedies, the plants, that they actually carry the quality that you do want to strengthen. And if you find that you do need a bit of strength or courage, it's good to think of borage as a plant that you could, a herb that you could use to enhance that quality. And so the moon then is the healer, the caretaker, the cure, the calm the mind is the ideal as far as the moon is concerned, and we look for sanctuary wherever the moon sits in the chart. But if it's on its own, it feels vulnerable. So it needs to feel protected, it needs to feel minded, it needs to feel safe. And so it's a very good remedy. Homeopathy in general is a very good remedy for the moon, because the homeopathy helps to restore emotional stability, and it's usually the emotions, the sad, the mad, the glad, that get upset and need calming, So the moon in particular is you need to look to the moon. Melodies, nice songs, being cared for, all of these things help us to heal us. So our moon is our healer. And the sun is, the moon exalts in Taurus, I meant to say, as well. Taurus is the sign associated with nurturing, good food, solid ground, practicalities. All these things come straight from the earth, and so the moon gets exalted there, where she is well fed and has all the resources around her to do what she needs to do, all the foods and all the herbs and all the natural things in the world that are around her to protect her. And the sun then is the leader, and the leader has to be king, and the leader is the first house. The first house is where we want to shine, and our best qualities, our name, our reputation, and so the sign of Aries is its exaltation point, where it can take that lead role and guide everything else. And the light of the sun is what we want to go back to. That central spark that's within within our solar system is actually the same spark that's in each of us. So we each have all of these qualities within us. And these are ideas within us that we aspire to. Now you can talk about the word ideas, very similar to ideas. You can talk about idols, IDOLS. They're all coming from the same root, the same or the same possibility. And so no matter what you look at, whether it's Lakshmi, and you can see it, there's many versions of her online, she'll bring wealth, which is the Venus. She brings, but she has to be, she'll help guide, she advises the male aspect on how to get what they want. She leaves if the male is behaving badly, and she stays if the male behaves well. And so, any of these stories, like Ganesh, the energy of Ganesh is to bring us through the difficulties we might have, bring us through the forest, bring us through the places we don't know about. And so any of these images that some people mock or laugh at, or what could you make sense of that? It's worth actually looking again. Look at the colours they're wearing. Look at maybe there's a book in their hand. Maybe they're teachers. Maybe they have a spade in their hand. Maybe they're farmers. Like each image represents a quality that we might aspire to. And so when you see it in a chart, like wherever you see the sun in the chart, for instance, you would say, well, yeah, you want to be in charge there, and you want people to respect you there, and you want to take the lead there for yourself. And so I have the sun in the third house, and the third house is self-will, is to do what I want to do, And so I was very bad at getting to do what other people wanted me to do, because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. Will we take your moon Lauren, in your first house, and the carer that wants to achieve, now it is opposite to its own sign, which is the sign of Cancer, and it is in the sign associated with the exaltation of Mars. So when the planet goes to a sign, like we'd say my sun is in the sign where Mercury gets exalted. So, but Mercury is more playful. Mercury is the prince. So there's going to be a challenge there, because the king is the king. He doesn't want to be prince. He doesn't want to be the follower when it comes to where he sits, But that's what you live with, you see. And this is how you get to make the connections, between making a sentence out of the alphabet. But you need to have the alphabet, and this is the alphabet. Thanks very much for listening, and keep the questions coming. If you ask me a question and I don't have the answer, I learn more, you learn more. There's a Learn with Pearl there. We have a meeting every Thursday evening. If you want to bring a question there, or send me a question through whichever channel you're on. There's so many now, is it's confusing, but keep the questions coming. We'll all learn with Pearl.